Good evening, folks. So it's completely silent in my house. All is quiet. Everyone is asleep. And I am downstairs because my daughter is in my bed with dad and they kicked me out. So I'm downstairs. And I had some video ideas that I felt like were going to be gone by tomorrow. So I was like, let me just say what I need to say now. So should be really quick, but one thing that I keep forgetting and remembering and forgetting again and remembering again is um, just noticing how like the difference in all of these religions. Um, like for instance, I just learned like maybe a couple weeks ago that Jehovah's Witnesses, they do this thing where they'll do communion, but they will refuse the elements, and they say that that is how they, it's like no one is worthy to take the communion. So so they literally refuse it, and my husband like couldn't believe it when I told him that, because I guess he knows some Jehovah's Witnesses at his job. And yeah, he found out that was true and he couldn't believe it. And then but I think it's the Mormons, they do the elements, but it's not like bread and wine. Like it's not even, it's like water and I forget what it is, but it's just like, I don't know, it's a little off in its representation of the elements. And like we never did wine either. Obviously we did grape juice, and we did these, this unleavened bread, and they don't do that. They do something and something else. And of course, they say, well, you can use anything. Like, it doesn't matter. It's, whatever. But which is true. But, I think that's mostly just like a grace thing. It's sort of meant like if you don't have those things, you can use what you've got. But, most people have bread of some kind. Like, I don't even remember what it was. It wasn't even like, I don't even think it was wafers or anything remotely resembling unleavened bread. And then, I was thinking about how some people, some religions, if Jesus is included, then he's like an angel, or he's a prophet, or he's, he died. He's obviously not uh, going to be considered still alive in most religions. And then, or, he's, excuse me, he's like the ascended master, and he's just, came to teach us whatever. I just heard a really weird interview with someone who claims to be a star child, which is just someone who is like a progeny of an alien and a human. And they said that you know, they have clairvoyance and all these different things. And, um, was making parallels between, all of these people in the Bible, Moses and Jesus. And, these are people who had high frequency, whatever, and they're like avatars, and they came to show humans, I don't know, this and that, doesn't really matter what she said. And then, I mean, what else can we talk about? Like, what other religion? Even Judaism is like basically the same thing, except for the Messiah is not Jesus. And we've got, let's see what else we've got. I can't remember like which one is it, the Mormons or whoever. Could be LDS, I don't remember, but just the whole idea of not having a resurrection, or when you die, you don't go to heaven, you just like sleep. I can't remember all of the funny beliefs, but like, or not, I won't say funny, but it's just like the way that everything is just slightly off in these different ways. And people might think, well, Christianity is being intolerant because we're not accepting these like little differing details. But the thing is, like, there's only a couple of things that God like was very specific about believing, that literally, if it's any different, it is not the gospel, and it is just no longer the information that he's trying to get across to you. And literally every single other religion skirts around the details, like the details that will actually save your life according to what Christianity says. That is super weird. That's super weird. That's like if your mom gave you a grocery list and then everyone was convincing you not to get certain things on the grocery list, and everything that they told you not to get was like something that made meatloaf. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is that? What's the conspiracy against meatloaf? Oh, there's no conspiracy against meatloaf. We just don't want you to get, ground beef, anything that's like, uh, you know, eggs, bread, just certain things. Meatloaf mix. It's like, okay, you just named all the meatloaf stuff. Like, that's insane. Nothing about him resurrecting. It's like, this is the message. It's the message. Listen to how simple this is. That God came down to earth as a baby, and you start to, through this sort of reverse engineering, understand why things are important. Because I think I've said before, like, I don't understand why it's so important that Jesus be a baby. But if he came fully formed as a man down to earth, like, there's something he needed to come through, like I said, through the proper channel, to be considered, like, he really wanted to be considered a part of mankind. Like, it was necessary for him to be a part of mankind, so he had to be born so that he could, I don't know, I mean, assuming it has to do with him also ruling mankind, but like, he would be an alien if he just came as a man, like, or an angel. It's like, yeah, angels come up and down, come here and leave and come back and whatever, and they're in disguise. And like, all that's fine. Angels being in disguise, you never know. You might be entertaining angels unaware. Yeah, all that's fine. Big angels, little angels, small angels, you know, giant 10, 12-foot tall angels, angels coming down, mating with human beings, making a whole hullabaloo. All that's fine. But it's like, no, Jesus came down as a baby, like he was born. He was born of a virgin. Also another thing. Like, because that to me, like, there might be something about, oh, the purity of Mary, whatever, but I really just think, like, that's just what happened. And, like, that's the truth of the story. Like, why are we changing the story and make her be like, oh, no, she was a whore. She had 5 kids. It's like, why do we have to just, like, honestly, like, what are we talking about? So, like, that's the only attachment that I have to that detail. But it's like the way that everyone needs to change that around. Like, who cares if she was a virgin or not? Like, God can do anything. Well, it's not possible for her to conceive. It's like, what? God came down as a human. Like, would it make you believe the story if she had had sex already? Like, I'm so confused. And then it's like, okay, so God came down as a human baby, was born. He grew up. Then he, like, there's certain things like, getting baptized, him having the Holy Spirit. A lot of that stuff isn't questioned. Him being tempted in the wilderness, no one really spends a lot of time refuting that. No one spends a lot of time refuting his miracles. No one spends, so you see what's important to the devil. You know what I'm saying? That people do not know, or that people do not accept. And then we get to the death on the cross. Oh no, 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 no. He didn't die on the cross. No, he was switched out with somebody else's body. He was an angel. The devil, he switched himself with the devil, and the devil died on the cross. What? Why do you need that part of the story to change? And you can chalk that all up to like humans, people like to. But it's like, if you're going to do that, then just say like, oh no, the crucifixion never happened. That's, I don't know, weird people are sadistic. I don't know why they need to say that. Like, why are you taking out the very, 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 very fine detail about him having died? Like, oh no, someone else died in his place. It's like, what? I believe that's the Muslims believe that. And so that gets disputed. And then it's like, uh, he died and then rose again. I mean, no one is going to let you believe that besides the Christians. That's pretty much exclusive. So he rose from the dead, because I guess that's like the nail in the coffin for everybody else. Because I mean, who others prophets are still alive? So can't really let you believe that one. And then, which is kind of strange. Like, it's like, well, what's the harm in that? Like, it's not like Jesus wants you to die or something, or that, he's going to come and kill everybody. Like, he's just alive. Like, and I think people sort of, in a strange way, they kind of concede that he is. Like, no one really treats him like he's dead and gone. Like, let's go put flowers on Jesus' grave, which, shout out to the Christians for, keeping that sort of from being the thing. And so, yeah, we can all say he was a historical figure and stuff, but um, yeah, people really like, it's just really funny. And then it's like, oh, well, Jesus is coming back. That's, I think that's just getting, I think that the devil is saving that for if he needs to use that for something he's going to do. Because if he wants to sort of be like, oh, if he wants to make it like Jesus came back, he's not going to poo poo on that too much. But he definitely does not like the idea of the cross, the blood of Christ, doing any sort of salvation work, or him rising from the dead. And, if you're not a Christian, you don't even know why that's important. But it's like, we know that is like the very thing that gives the gospel its power. So those are the things that get refuted. Those are the only things. It's like, well, we can agree that he lived. We can agree that he did miracles. We can agree. It's like, okay, well, I don't care what you like. You don't understand what's at stake with you with you disagreeing. Like, again, it all comes back to, well, why can't we just all have a good time on earth? Why can't you just be happy with what we agree on? It's like, because that everyone's going to die if I do that. Everyone will die. Like, yeah, we'll be living in harmony, talking about the things we agree on, and then you're going to die the second death. Like, and God will be mad at me. Like, no, I can't do that. We can't, no deal. And then, what was the other thing I was thinking about? Please don't go away. Hold on. Okay. So I think this sort of, it ties into what I was saying, but, um, basically, let me just give this whole gospel message another stab here because, I just been watching a lot of videos where they're trying to, get people to believe, but they're also like, it seems like people are getting tripped up on what actually saves them. And, what believing in what it is like, because I think people already know, they already are like, well, I believe in Jesus already, but I'm not saved, so what's going on? Or they might believe that stuff, but they know that their life has to change, and their life isn't changed, so they might believe in God already, they might even believe in Jesus already, but they don't. But it's like, what am I doing? Like, how do I get the thing, and it's a really, like, that's why you need the full gospel and the full understanding. People take out the hell message because it makes people scared, but it's like, that's part of the context of why you need the second part of the message, which is Jesus. So it can get really muddled, but I think, I don't remember what I was going to say that was going to like add to it magically, because I've already talked about, like, being born on this earth, and no one is, um people like to say like that you deserve hell or whatever. I don't really go to the deserving thing. I just know, like, we are all born, we all know, it's not like someone has to tell you. You're born into a world where it's good, but it ain't ugh. You have a yearning for something that's even greater than what's great about this world. A lot of people are going to be born here and they're not even going to see the greatness. It's just going to be misery, 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 misery until they die. And what are those people going to do? So, and what does that mean? And what is that? And what justice is there for that? And all that stuff. It's like, we're all born into a sinful place, and we're lucky if we are born to two people who love us, or one person who loves us, or people who love us and take care of us, people who love us and take care of us and have resources to give us an advantage, like, all of these different things. It's hard to imagine being in America. We have a little bit of an idea of it, but it's like, and then you get older, you go through life, and you're like, oh, my friends are going to be in my life, or I'm going to be successful, this and that. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. I'm going to find that special person and all of this stuff. And maybe that happened for you. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't happen for you. And you just go, what is the point of this? Or it did happen for you. And you're going, what is the point of this? Because, that same emptiness is there. Okay. That is because you are, not going to be fully fulfilled by anything on this planet without God. You have to have God. Even the people who don't want God, refuse God, who hate God, they're going to suffer, and they get sent, to hell, or they volunteer to go or whatever, because all there's going to be, those are the best parties, and they don't want to be in heaven with all the goody two shoes people or whatever they say. They don't realize that all of uh, their happy feelings wasn't from, you know, it was from the presence of God that they will now be removed from. Like, I heard a really great testimony today of somebody who had gone to hell, who had been taken to hell, and they were like, yeah, you think that you don't feel God, that God isn't around, where is God, blah blah blah. He was like, yeah, no, there's really no God down there. Like, you can't feel like you think that you can. And it was just funny to hear somebody sort of, he was just like, I don't care what you say, you can feel him. You just don't think that you can. And I mean, a good indication of that is like if you're going to do something bad and you suddenly get like you might even be alone, or you might be just in an isolated place. Sometimes when you're alone, it's like you need other people around to get through it. Something you're doing that's bad, because you need their uh, cluelessness and their, whatever to rub off on you so that you can, I've been there, like not anything major, but it's the same thing, small or whatever the proportion is. It's the same deal because we're all doing the same thing. But like, yeah, that's because God is around. It's because God is around, and you're trying to, you know, either block him out, or get to some dark place that he can't see you anymore, so you can feel more comfortable doing what you're doing. So if you, let's say that you get tired of doing that, you get tired of just denying that he's there, and you want to interact with him, you want to engage. Let's say you want to interact with him and you want to engage with him, but you're not quite ready to jump full throttle and just start doing all the Christian stuff and going to Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby and getting eat, pray, love paraphernalia. Okay, fine. You can talk to him, and when you talk to him, no matter what you say, like if you want him to if you want to just find out the love that he has for you, you just want to get like a little sampley taste before you make a whole commitment. You're like, hey, I heard you got this love for me. Like, what does that entail? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Like, can you show me? Like, he will do that. And this is like another one of those things, like my "You Can Talk to Jesus" video that I made. It's like you can talk to him at any point, but like, yeah, there's these little steps that we kind of miss in the middle. Christians especially, because they're literally just we get caught up in the numbers and caught up in the results. But like, if you just want to talk to God a little bit, if you want to talk to Jesus particularly, you want to just say like, God of the universe, like, and the more specific you get, the better results you're going to get. The more that you can be honest with yourself, and tell him what you're really, really wanting. Which can be tricky too, because you think you're being honest and you're not getting a response. And it's like, oh, well, God doesn't exist. It might be because the thing that you're asking for isn't really the thing that is gonna like whatever. But I've heard varying different stories. But the point is that the reason that God can respond to you and can respond to you fully with love is not just because God loves you. Like, that's true, but that's not why he's going to be able to do that. Jesus doing what he did on the cross is the reason why you can talk to God at any point in your walk. So people are confused about like what exactly is the function of Jesus, like why is Jesus, like what's the dying for your sins and what is the blood and the cross and all that stuff. And without getting too deep into it, I think I've said this before too, like all you have to know is that through one man, earth was plunged into sin. Through the convincing of one man to disobey God, um, all of humanity after that had to deal with the consequences of that one decision, according to the Bible. According to that same Bible, through one man being on the cross, we were all redeemed from that situation. So, um, but we still have to accept that um, truth, and we have to accept the gift of salvation. We still have, that doesn't automatically, um, we don't just automatically get the heaven and all the good stuff. Um, yes, we automatically all got sin when the first thing happened. Um, but I mean, I think it's pretty great that he can reverse the whole thing just simply through us making a decision and having a belief in it. I mean, that's pretty powerful. So, um, more than reverse, make something even greater than it was before. So, so the thing that Jesus did is a very immense thing. It's been thousands of years now, so it's still being felt, but it's it's been taken for granted. So much we've been able to achieve because that happened. And a lot of people just say, oh, well, it's just time. Oh, it's evolution. Oh, it's technology. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. It's like, well, yeah, but the unsung hero in all of this is Jesus. And, by extension, the church, because a lot of things happen because the church exists, which no one will ever tell you about or attribute to the church. Even if it was like every single person that made every single advancement happened to be a believer, it's like, oh, well, that was a time period, blah, blah, blah. Everybody believed, blah, blah, blah. It's always very dismissed. But, anyways, so, so just know that the reason that you can approach God, if you decide to, at any point, whether you decide to step foot in a church or just sit in the dark like I'm doing right now and have a heartfelt conversation with the God of the universe, just know that that can happen without you having to go into a temple, without you having to go do a sacrifice, go bring an animal. It's like the demons still need animals. The demons still need you to, do something bad. They need you to do a Ouija board, get a Ouija board. They need you to, put on a certain song. They need you to get high. They need you to do something. Okay. You don't need to do anything like that with God because Jesus already did the stuff for you. And so a lot of people like to say, a lot of Christians like to say, when God sees you, he sees Jesus. He sees his son, which I don't know, doesn't give me comfort at all. Like that's cool. But I don't know what that means. So I'm not going to say that. But it's true. But I mean, people really just like get really like amazed and giddy by that information. I don't get it. It doesn't resonate with me. So, um, but yeah, so that is Jesus. Jesus is our mediator. And I don't know why I never saw it before, but I just heard today about Moses being a type of Jesus because Moses is the one that sort of advocates for the people. Like every time that God is like, I'm going to just destroy them. They're stiff necked. They won't listen. They won't believe, blah, blah, blah. And Moses has to be like, I mean, Moses went in, like he was just like, he literally like told God like to repent of the evil that he was going to do to them and stuff like that. Cause he was like, you can't take them out to the desert and kill them. And everybody's going to be like, oh, the God of the, whatever, their God, like totally just took them out there to freaking slaughter them. Like, and God was like, you're right. Like, I don't know, like the relationship that he had with Moses. I mean, it does say that Moses was the most humble man on earth, which is kind of a weird thing to say. It's kind of an ironic thing to say because I think that is in the Old Testament, which he presumably wrote. Um, but so they had a relationship, and he was, he did like mega miracles. Like, we don't consider them that. I guess they would be more considered signs. But yeah, so Jesus is the one that's like, listen, let me go down. Like it doesn't really say much about what their conversation was like. and there's a lot of emphasis on Jesus being obedient and just, because another type of Jesus is, the whole story that people like to make fun of Abraham putting his son on the altar. And so there's kind of like a debate of like how much autonomy, how much of it was Jesus' idea, how much of it was God's idea. I'm fascinated to know, like, who did what. I think it'd be really interesting. But the point is, he did the job. He said it's finished. It is finished. And, it's kind of a strange thing. It's like it goes beyond time at a certain point. But yeah, so Jesus is the reason that you're able to be reconciled to the Father. So, like, yes, Jesus is, who we serve. It's the one that, Jesus, God has given Jesus all authority on heaven and earth. That is true. But God is the one that we are reconciled to. So, we ask for anything in Jesus's name. We're not asking Jesus, we're asking the Father for those things. And we ask for them in Jesus's name, who's like our high priest, our advocate person. So, anyways, so yeah, I don't know if that made it any sense, but like, I just think people get tripped up because they don't understand the function. And so when you don't understand what Jesus did, then you're like thinking you need to, the people that get caught up in the works, and just like, oh, I need to be doing stuff for God. I need to be doing stuff for God. I need to be productive, which I had that very same conversation today, because it's like, it is very hard, a hard habit to break, especially when everyone associates productivity with you just being good, you know? And so you're just like, oh, I'm not doing anything, blah, blah, blah. And my thing is always like, I feel like God has given me so much, like in the way of, just having wisdom and avoiding certain things. And it's like, I always want to, like, I say, well, I'm going to work smarter and not harder, or whatever, which is true. That is how I get around. But I just feel like I should be having had a lot more done with the amount of working smart that I've tried to do. And I'm just like, well, but you gave me like all of this wisdom and I'm just not even using it. Like, I'm not helping anybody. I'm just like sitting at home, like eating and just like enjoying my life. And he basically was like, because I just feel like I'm going to be like that servant, the wicked servant. There's a parable about a wicked servant who, he's given a certain amount of money and he doesn't double it, or, it doesn't yield anything. He just like buries it. The master is like, you wicked servant, you could have like put this in the bank, it could have collected interest, but so then it gets thrown out. And so it's this whole parable. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like just wasting what I've got. Like, I got all of this stuff and I'm just like not doing anything with it. And I don't know, I feel like God was telling me that I was drawing the parallel wrong. Like, I don't know, because not that like you don't have to be productive, but he was just saying like, because before that we were having a conversation, a little bit of a conversation. Like, he was basically, when I'm saying I'm having a conversation, like he's basically like talking me off a ledge about myself. And so we were having this like debate about like what fruit is. Like, that's like, if you're not bearing any fruit, like, you're going to be cut off from the whatever. And he's like, fruit isn't productivity. And I'm like, I know that. But when I look at like the context of my life, like this is what I could be doing, blah, blah, blah. And, he was just like, you're, but what you have is not, it's not like you have a finite resource and I gave you a finite resource and you're wasting it on yourself. It's like, you're not wasting it on yourself. Like, and like you're just hoarding it. It's like, that's your portion. It's like, it's like infinite. It's like abundant. Like, so it's not like he was just saying, like, you can't say that about that. Like, that's not the same thing. And I was like, oh, I think I get that. I was like, I don't know. I was like not ready to let myself off the hook for that. So, anyway, so that's just like a little bit of the conversation that I have. But, yeah, I said all that to say, like, it's really easy to get caught up on, like, to get in the weeds about it. But the way, like, if there's an easy way to remember, it's like the reason why you can approach God at all and why you can uh, be part of God's kingdom at all is because of what Jesus did. So, um, Jesus did it all, and it's actually like a big deal what he did. I mean, it obviously is very difficult. And again, even when we're talking about something that's a spiritual thing, I see a lot of people in church, you know, reducing it or just making it about the suffering and the material and like the what he physically went through and all this stuff. And yeah, you might get a little bit about how he suffered, like he was, for 3 days he was in hell presumably, or whatever was happening during that 3 days. It's like, yes, all of that is true, but the point is, like, uh that work that he did was like an immense work. um and so when you try to like slap your sour cream of works on top of it, it's like, we don't we don't need that. Like, get that off of there. Like, it's insulting to be like, well, it needs a little something. It needs my um, all of my donations that I made. It's like, no, get your donations off of the finished work of Christ. Like, stop. It's embarrassing. Like, the best thing that you can do, it's like when it's like if somebody gives you like a vacation, like a free vacation, and it like costs them whatever. It's like the best thing you can do is go on the vacation. Don't be like, well, I stayed at home and worked because I just felt guilty that you had done so much work. And I was like, well, I need to pitch in. It's like, I'm about to cuss you out. If you don't go on vacation, like, you need to know when to just, like, if somebody like buys the whole venue out and then you can just go and have free drinks or whatever. And you're just like, well, I'm just going to pay for my drink because I just know. It's like, don't do that though. Now you're just being rude. Like, read the room. Nobody wants you to do that. So, yeah, it's like Jesus literally paid it all. Oh no. Okay. My headphones are in, and so my wireless ones, like, that are just like, if you touch them, they like make a new video. So I don't even know how to work them. So it just fell out. I thought something was going to happen. But anyways, um, yeah. So like, stop trying to, don't just be a child. It's like, I see myself as a child. Anytime I try to get like, the conversations I have about God, that's not a fundamental like salvation conversation. That's just me like making sure like everything is like, I know that I'm going to be like at the table. I'm going to be first one in line at the buffet, like just getting all the blessings because that's what he wants. That's what he did all that for. It's like, what do you think God did all that for? For you to like, do you think he's like your weird mom that like still expects you to like, yeah, that was his gesture, but now he needs you to like show that you care and like actually do more work than him? Like, he's not a human, he's God. Like, I read a passage the other day. Like, I was like, I wish I could find it because that would make it a lot more impactful. But it's just this passage in like Nehemiah or something. I don't know. It's probably not even that obscure, but it's like him just talking about like all the blessings that he's gonna. He's like, I'm gonna, make sure all your cisterns are full. That literally, it doesn't even say that, but like that's like the vibe. He's like, I'm gonna. It does say something like, I'm gonna send rain in its season, and you're gonna harvest, and you're gonna. It's just all of this stuff, and he's like, and I'm gonna be your God, and you're gonna be my people. It's just like him talking like a boyfriend, like it's like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna go out. I'm gonna take you like here, and like we're gonna like bake cakes, and then we're gonna like eat dinner. But like he's like saying, but it's like all like stuff that a god would say. He's like, I want to make sure you get rain in your season. Then you're gonna like have a festival, and then you're gonna have like a feast, and then you're gonna like have so much food you're gonna be able to store it. But then you're gonna like throw it out because it's all old, and you're gonna replace it with new stuff because you're like being taken care of because I'm taking care of you because like I'm your god and stuff. Like he's like so geeked about like being able to like be our god, like which makes sense because he's God. Like that's what he wants to do. Like the idea that you're a god because you're just like super powerful and everyone just looks at you and goes, "Oh my gosh." Like that's demonic. Like that's the devil. Like that's what the devil wanted and wants. Like he's a god because you're like super strong and then you like oppress all the people because no one can come against you. Like that's not the biblical God. The biblical God is like I can't wait until someone like sees this like thing of flowers that I put on the side of this mountain. Like someone is gonna climb to the top eventually, and they're gonna see that, and they're gonna be like, "That's so beautiful," and that's gonna be like worth my time. Like that is the God I'm talking about, and so that is the God that like was like, how do I preserve like all like how do I save all these people that I made and like the future people that I'm gonna make like and then God, Jesus is like, I'm going to do it. Just give me a body. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Let me do it. And then they do it. And then he's like, cool. And then he just needs people to sign up and come along and agree and go. Like that, like, again, just think about it in real terms. In real terms. He doesn't need you to do anything. This whole like stand up, sit down, liturgical, like, yes, wear something down to your knees, be modest. That's only because that's just the nature of God. That isn't religious. When you go to heaven, I don't think there's going to be any mini skirts. Like, I just don't think there will be. I think it's just going to be beautiful clothes, but they're all going to be like modest and nice. And even though the men are not even going to be like struggling with lust anymore or anything, it's not even going to like you need to cover up for them. It's just like that's just the nature of things up there. It's like, yeah, there's certain things that if you don't like, being humble, if you don't like waiting in line, if you don't like working for free or working to make God happy, if that sounds kind of boring to you, then yeah, there's a lot of stuff about heaven you're probably not going to like. Even with your glorified body and your perfected nature, you want to go off, you want to just like go and fight people or be able to just eat cake all day. Like, I don't know, maybe heaven's not for you. Like, you want to do defiled things with your improved nature. Maybe heaven's not for you. But yeah, so I didn't mean to go off too far on that. I know I'm over, but I just wanted to explain that really fast, I just wanted to explain that, and hopefully someone got it. Because it's really important to understand like what the rules are, and not to get, if you get caught up in the works of it, then you're going to get in the weeds, and then you're going to be like mad about God stuff that God didn't even tell you to do, and just like all of this stuff. So don't feel like you have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. And then hopefully, because you don't have to do anything, and then you're like, wow, I can just talk to God, like I'm just free to talk to God. And then you take advantage of that freedom by talking to God, and then He comes closer to you, and then you're like, wow, this is great. And then the more that He comes closer to you, the more you're like, oh my gosh, I need to like pray. I need to read my word. Oh my gosh, like God's telling me I feel like I need to get baptized, blah, blah. Ta-da! The change is taking place. Like, um, the way that the modern church does it, where you just do the prayer, like it works. It's not like it hasn't worked that way. Um, but I think sometimes you can leave people behind doing that. So, and then you have this whole walk that you have to do, and you're confused because of the way you got saved in the first place. So it's just like, it's really important that things be rooted in ideas, so that, when things get weird or you don't understand or whatever, you can go back to the basics. So again, the basics is you're being reconciled to God, to the Father God, to the Creator, to the top dog guy, who, yes, you felt like he was mad at you. You felt like he was far away. You felt like he didn't care. You felt like, he just set this thing in motion and walked away. You felt like everything was a hot mess. And you were half right about that. But now he's not far away. He's as far away as you want him to be. You have as much God as you want, as I like to say. You can engage him, you can talk to him, you can accept him, you can be part of his family because of what Jesus was able to do. And all you got to do is accept it. I mean, believe it really is another way of saying accept it. So, yeah, that's literally what it is, guys. That's all it is. But, the hard part is just getting people to be interested in anything God is talking about. And with a million, skillion, billion distractions these days, it's harder than it's ever been. But yeah, it's really simple. It's real simple. And, the reason why it's so hard is because, as far as the devil's concerned, I mean, this is the whole reason why anything other than God exists, is to draw you away. So it's a lot, but it all makes sense. So let me stop now before I keep talking. It's like midnight. So good night.